Beijing breaks major news, home prices to halve again. Typhoon Capricorn resembles a skull, netizens exclaim, the Grim Reaper has arrived. No Greediest, only Greedier. 900 billion yuan embezzlement only ranks third in viral CCP Corruption List. Chinese listed banks cut 38,000 jobs in H1, over 70% lower salaries. CCP halts foreign adoption of Chinese children, experts expose truth ignored by state media. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Beijing breaks major news, home prices to halve again. Since September 4, 2024, a major update has been circulating online. Beijing is conducting a survey and may introduce allocation-based affordable housing, a move that could slash housing prices by half. A screenshot of an official document from the Beijing Municipal Commission of Housing and Urban-Rural Development is making rounds online. The document requests district governments to survey teachers, doctors, police officers, and other public sector workers to assess their need for affordable housing. Prices are expected to be between 50% and 60% of the rates for new homes in nearby areas, with construction planned to start next year after the survey is complete. State media outlet China News Service indirectly confirmed the news on Weibo. This has raised questions because affordable housing was originally intended for low-income groups. However, the current survey targets public servants like police officers, doctors, and civil servants, those with relatively stable incomes. Some voices online express concern that if Beijing offers half-priced homes to financially secure individuals, demand for new and second-hand homes will drop significantly, driving market prices down to half or even 40% of current values. They believe this policy could further destabilize the real estate market, making homes even less affordable for the general population. Some see the Chinese Communist Party's approach as short-sighted, prioritizing immediate political gains over long-term stability in the real estate sector, a strategy likened to killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Zhu Haibin, chief China economist at J.P. Morgan, noted on CNBC this week that China's real estate market collapse is not over, predicting that prices may not stabilize until 2025. Beijing's latest policy shift could worsen the situation beyond expert predictions. Adding perspective, Su Qinggang, a senior researcher at the Stanford Center on China's Economy and Institutions, recently shared on the Bumming By podcast that China is experiencing a slow-motion financial crisis triggered by the real estate sector. He pointed out that while the government has merged over 40 small banks to control the crisis, failing companies are spreading like cancer throughout the economy. What could have been managed with precise interventions has now become a widespread issue that could eventually lead to economic collapse. Professor Su raises concerns about the endpoint of this prolonged financial crisis. He notes that we are already witnessing a domino effect, with real estate companies collapsing one after another and many local banks also on the brink. The key question is not whether they will collapse, but how. The collapse of the real estate market impacts not only the sector itself but also its upstream and downstream industries. Domestic demand in China has always been weak, but the situation is now acutely severe because most middle-class families have their primary savings in real estate. The market's collapse essentially wipes out the savings of the middle class, making them reluctant to spend because they simply have no money left. The younger generation, who might have relied on parental support, now finds that there is nothing left to rely on. Many parents once planned to sell their homes to send their children to study in the United States, but with properties now unsellable, these plans have been derailed. Typhoon Capricorn resembles a skull, netizens exclaim, the Grim Reaper has arrived. On September 6, Super Typhoon Capricorn made landfall in Wenqian Town, Wenchang, Hainan Province, with wind speeds exceeding level 17, reaching 62 meters per second and a minimum central pressure of 915 HPA. This marks Capricorn as the most powerful typhoon to strike China since Super Typhoon Ramazan in 2014, which also made landfall in Wenchang. The Haikou Meteorological Station released a satellite image of Capricorn resembling a skull, prompting netizens to exclaim in fear, "The Grim Reaper has arrived." In Wenchang, the typhoon's impact has been severe, with reports of blown-out windows and overturned cars. One resident reported wind speeds reaching up to level 13. Capricorn's powerful winds have affected other regions as well. In Qionghai, residents described the winds howling like ghosts despite being in a level 10 wind zone. As the typhoon's level 12 wind zone reached Wenchang, damage included shattered windows and a wildly spinning Ferris wheel. One local shared that she went to burn incense and pray. Heavy rainfall is widespread across Hainan Island, with extreme downpours in some towns and strong winds of levels 13 to 16 in the northern half, toppling trees and causing extensive power outages. The Cheongshou Strait has been closed since September 5 due to Capricorn, stranding approximately 3,000 trucks and 4,500 people at ports in Zhangjiang, Guangdong. Stranded drivers, some living in their trucks and relying on minimal supplies, express concerns about safety, with one noting, "I'm afraid my truck will be overturned." Traffic jams now extend 6 to 7 kilometers from the port, and the situation is expected to last 4 to 7 days. Hainan has activated a Level 1 emergency response, with over 410,000 people evacuated and more ongoing. All transportation to and from Hainan is suspended, and multiple roads, bridges, and tunnels are under temporary closure. Capricorn is expected to continue inland, passing through Haikou, Qingmai, and Linggao before entering the Bibu Gulf by early morning on the 7th. Guangdong Province has issued a warning for coastal residents, urging them to evacuate and prohibiting beach activities. Fishing rafts and boats have been instructed to return to shore immediately. Zhangjiang City has implemented the 8 suspensions affecting tourist attractions, schools, ferries, construction sites, public venues, and power supply in certain areas. Beihai City in Guangxi has also implemented the 5 suspensions, halting classes, work, tourism, market activities, and transportation. In Zhangjiang, farmer Dong Min reported severe losses, stating, "Large trees have been blown down, and crops like bananas and passion fruit are completely destroyed, with no harvest at all." No Greediest, only Greedier. 900 billion yuan embezzlement only ranks 3rd in viral CCP Corruption List. The CCP's ongoing anti-corruption campaign continues to reveal staggering sums of corruption among officials. Recently, former China National Petroleum Corporation Chairman Wang Yilan was arrested for allegedly accepting 900 billion yuan, around $127 billion, in bribes. Reports also emerged implicating Fan Jixiang in corruption totaling 970 billion yuan, or about $138 billion. Seized luxury items from Fan's home reportedly took a week to transport by truck. According to an unofficial ranking, the most corrupt official is Chen Yaoming, former director of the China Banknote Printing and Minting Corporation, accused of privately printing 2 trillion yuan, about $282.1 billion, for personal gain. Wang Yilan ranks 3rd with 900 billion yuan. A leaked video shows police removing stacks of cash from Wang's residence, requiring trucks to make multiple trips over a week to transport all the seized items. On August 28, Xinhua News Agency confirmed Wang Yilan's arrest. Despite the high-profile nature of the case, such incidents are frequent within the CCP. Footage of Wang's home raid has drawn attention, with estimates suggesting the cash weighed over 10,350 tons, requiring 32 Airbus A380 cargo planes for transport. To compare, Russia's entire GDP for 2023 was 470 billion yuan, about $66.3 billion, meaning Wang's embezzled funds could sustain Russia for 2 years. Du Wen, former executive director of the Legal Office of Inner Mongolia, commented that the CCP's so-called proletarian revolution, under the guise of common prosperity, is actually about seizing wealth from the property-owning class and appropriating it for those in power. He argued that the current anti-corruption efforts merely extend this process, targeting state-owned enterprise executives and redistributing wealth to fill fiscal gaps. He claims these actions are not about integrity but internal power struggles within the CCP, leaving ordinary citizens to bear the brunt as power and wealth remain concentrated in the hands of a few. Online commentators say the anti-corruption drive is more about internal conflicts, describing the CCP as governing through bribes and police power. Some noted that Wang Yilan alone is accused of taking 900 billion yuan, enough to cover China's annual healthcare costs of about 600 billion yuan, approximately $84.6 billion. Calculations show that an average worker earning 200,000 yuan a year, about $28,213, would need around 4.5 million years to earn 900 billion yuan, implying they'd have to start working in the time of early hominins like Australopithecus. However, some netizens argue these figures are exaggerated, pointing out that 900 billion yuan in 100 yuan bills would weigh about 90,000 tons and occupy nearly 40 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Public records show Wang Yilan, born in 1956, held senior positions in Xinjiang's energy sector and within China National Petroleum Corporation. Despite his alleged massive corruption, he is not the most corrupt official. Radio France Internationale, citing social media data, ranks Chen Yaoming as the most corrupt, with Fan Jixiang and Wang Yilan following. Other notable figures include Fan Yifei, former deputy governor of the People's Bank of China, involved in nearly 800 billion yuan of corruption, and Li Chuyuan, former chairman of Guangzhou Pharmaceutical Group, implicated in 500 billion yuan, about $70.5 billion. Former journalist Zhao Longjian reported that the CCP recently compiled a list of over 100 officials involved in corruption exceeding 1 billion yuan, with the highest figure belonging to Su Changyuan, former secretary of Jinzhou district in Dalian, accused of embezzling 10 billion yuan, about $1.4 billion. Next is Li Jianping, former secretary of Ho-Hot Economic and Technological Development Zone, involved in corruption totaling over 3 billion yuan, about $423.2 million. Lai Xiaoman, former chairman of China Huarong Asset Management, accepted bribes amounting to 1.788 billion yuan, approximately $252.2 million. Many of these officials have received life imprisonment or death sentences. A netizen summed it up: "There's no most corrupt, only more corrupt," and noted, "It's no coincidence that exactly 108 officials have been put forward as scapegoats." Chinese listed banks cut 38,000 jobs in H1, over 70% lower salaries. China's economic downturn is hitting banks hard, leading to significant workforce reductions. In the first half of this year, 42 listed banks cut about 38,000 jobs, with 30 of them also reducing average monthly salaries. Reports show the total number of employees at these banks exceeded 2.56 million, down from the beginning of the year, with 32 banks seeing a clear trend in layoffs. State-owned banks are not spared. The 6 major banks collectively cut over 20,000 jobs, with the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China reducing its workforce by over 10,000 employees. Other major banks, including the China Construction Bank, Agricultural Bank of China, Postal Savings Bank of China, and Bank of Communications, also reduced their staff, while only the Bank of China slightly increased its workforce. In the first half of the year, total salaries at the 42 listed banks amounted to 465.46 billion yuan, down 0.2% from the same period last year, marking the first year-on-year decline in recent years. Compared to the growth rates of 6.3% in 2022 and 6.4% in 2023, this drop is notable. The average monthly salary at listed banks was 34,300 yuan, down 2.18% from the previous year, with 30 banks reporting declines in average pay. 6 banks saw salary drops of over 5%, and the Chongqing Rural Commercial Bank recorded the largest decline of over 20%. China Merchants Bank reported an average monthly salary of 51,600 yuan, about $7,279, down 2,000 yuan, about $282, from last year, and 3,300 yuan, about $466, from 2022. Some employees complained that monthly take-home pay has fallen sharply, now under 10,000 yuan, around $1,411, from a previous average starting salary of 30,000 yuan, approximately $4,232. Industry insiders attribute the drop in income to unmet performance bonuses, changes in bank assessment criteria, overly ambitious targets, and a rise in bad debts. The primary factor, however, remains the broader economic downturn, which has squeezed net interest margins and forced banks to cut back on salary budgets. CCP halts foreign adoption of Chinese children, experts expose truth ignored by state media. The Chinese Communist Party has recently tightened its international adoption policy, restricting adoptions abroad to children or stepchildren of collateral relatives within 3 generations. Analysts exposed the CCP's dark motives. At a press briefing on September 5, a Dutch journalist asked about the U.S. State Department's claim that China's Ministry of Civil Affairs had informed the U.S. that, effective August 28, all local civil affairs departments in China would cease adoption-related activities. While confirming the report, Mao Ning, spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, provided no explanation but stated the decision aligns with international conventions and thanked foreign governments and families for their interest in adopting Chinese children. International adoptions from China began in the 1980s, driven by the one-child policy implemented in 1979, which led to many abandoned baby girls and disabled children. The 1992 adoption law opened the door wider for foreigners, resulting in a peak in 2005 when over 13,000 children were adopted internationally, including many by U.S. families. However, from 2007, China tightened adoption standards, imposing age, income, and health requirements, and in 2020 further restricted international adoptions, leading to a sharp decline. Currently, domestic adoptions account for nearly 90% of the total. American families have been the most prominent adopters of Chinese orphans, accounting for over 82,000 adoptions since the early 2000s, the highest among international adoptions from China. The adoption process is complex, involving long wait times and high costs, but many American families have adopted Chinese children with congenital disabilities, providing them with medical care and support. Hundreds of American families are still in the adoption process, with the U.S. and Canadian governments negotiating with China. Voice of America reported that Beijing has stated it will not continue processing adoption cases, except for specific exceptions, and the U.S. Embassy is seeking further clarification from China's Ministry of Civil Affairs. Reasons for the CCP's sudden ban on international adoptions. Former Chinese journalist Wang Jian attributes the CCP's sudden ban on international adoptions of Chinese orphans to 2 main reasons. First, China's birth rate has been declining for years. In 2023, China recorded 9.02 million births, down by 540,000 from 2022 and 2.54 million fewer than in 2021. According to Wikipedia, China's fertility rate dropped to 1.16 in 2021. The declining birth rate and an aging population are significant factors in the CCP's decision to halt international adoptions. Wang Jian also suggests that the CCP's move is driven by darker motives. He pointed out that Chinese children adopted internationally often receive exceptional care, leading many to excel in various fields and become prominent figures. This positive exposure in foreign media, Wang argues, has embarrassed the CCP, prompting the shutdown of international adoption channels. A notable example is Maggie McNeil, a Canadian swimmer who won gold in the 100-meter butterfly at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, defeating Chinese competitor Zhang Yufei. McNeil was born in Zhejiang, Jiangsu Province, in 2001 but was abandoned at birth and adopted by Canadian parents, allowing her to lead a completely different life. When approached by CCP state media for a patriotic narrative, she simply stated, "I was born in China, but I am Canadian." Netizens have mocked the situation, saying, "Chinese parents abandoned her, but foreign parents raised her so well. Aren't you ashamed?" Others noted, she became an Olympic champion away from her homeland. Similarly, Morgan Hurd, who won the all-around title at the 2018 World Gymnastics Championships, was an abandoned child born in Guangxi. Another case is Mei Li, a girl born with spina bifida who was adopted by an American family. In September 2022, she won the Junior Tennis Championship and aims to compete in the wheelchair tennis event at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, hoping to win on home soil. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.